It's another beautiful Sunday afternoon. This is Robin Minds. Welcome. My name is Ebuka Obiuchendo. Thanks a lot for joining us. It's another brand new week. A lot to talk about, as we always do. It's been a week that we've talked a lot about Mr. President and one of his ministers who made an utterance that caught a lot of Nigerians unaware. Mr. President has taken his 11th trip, I hear, to the United Kingdom. A lot of speculation saying that it might be another checkup, but we don't know exactly what it is. The presidency did say it's a private visit, and he'll be away for 10 days. Hopefully he comes back more energized to begin the second term of 4 years, because Nigeria more than ever needs a fit president and someone who's going to be able to carry a lot of our problems, because there are quite a lot of them into 2023. Also talking about the Minister of Labour and Productivity, Dr. Chris Ngige, had said during the week a lot of things have come out of that particular statement, talking about doctors leaving Nigeria and how we had more than enough in the country. But we're going to get to that much later in our show. To start off with, we're going to be talking about sexual assault, sexual abuse on men and boys. And I have here with me Toluleke Aduradola.
Yeah, they tried.
And Dikbo Adeusi. Thanks for being here today. This can get very touchy-feely sometimes, you know, when people talk about sexual abuse and they're talking about men, because people say, okay, for the first time in a long time, it looks like women are finally getting their voices heard. They've been trying to get a lot of men, especially, to understand what women have been going through with regards to sexual abuse and, you know, harassment, and finally the Me Too movement and things along that line are starting to catch on. And suddenly men are saying, okay, we're also here. Is this the right time to have this kind of conversation, you think? Or is there a right time ever?
It's difficult to say if there's a right time or not, but I mean, I think it's better that we're even having this conversation already now. Yeah. It's good we have it.
What do you think?
I mean, I definitely think it's a good time. It's a good time. It's a time when we need to be inclusive of everything and everyone. And we need to start to shed light on situations that are plaguing our society, and start to talk about the things that we need to talk about so we can heal. Yeah. So if that includes talking about men being abused sexually, as well as women finding their place in society and having a voice, then let's talk about everything. There's space for everything. Yeah.
Let's talk about misconceptions now, because there's a lot of, especially in a country like this where patriarchy is so rife. You know, you are a boy, you hear things like man up, you know, be a man, you know. What are some of these misconceptions about masculinity, especially in society like ours, and why you think that helps sexual abuse or sexual harassment of boys thrive?
Well, I mean, like you said, there's things like, you hear things like man up or boys don't cry, or the other day I read some thread about someone talking about how two men could have a solid friendship and don't know each other's names off of bro, boss, chairman. Yeah. You know, that's how they talk to each other. You know, and the main problem is how boys are raised in Nigeria, as far as I'm concerned. We don't educate men to have an emotional, healthy lifestyle, healthy mind. We don't introduce them to what that looks like, and so it manifests in so many different ways. In the ways that they see themselves, there's a sense of entitlement. In the ways that they relate with people of the opposite sex, the way that they relate with their own peers. So those are some of the misconceptions we have, and that's where it comes from. And you asked about how we can deal with it. Is that what you said? We just need to start to educate ourselves better. You know, parents need to start to educate their children better. Men who already are grown, I don't think you cannot change. I think there's always room for change. You just need to find yourself in the right environment to start to sort of facilitate that change. So find people who you think, you know, have a healthy emotional life balance and start to talk to them. See how you can get some help.
Like, a lot of men, like you said, don't speak up. You know, it's not something that we're sort of trained to do. Do you, in your work, you know, that it's almost as prevalent with boys and men, talking about sexual assaults and harassment, as with women? Do you find that there's a number of cases? You know, with women, the statistics are crazy. I think 1 in every 3 women or so, at some point in their lives, will probably go through something. You know? Do you think it's that high with guys?
It's not as high, as it is with women,
Yeah.
but it's actually, the numbers actually, what's the word?
Scary enough.
Yeah, just scary enough, you know. I think 1 out of 10, I checked, I did some little research here and there. You know, some studies show that 1 out of 10 guys must have been raped and stuff like that. But of course, because the society doesn't encourage, especially in this part of the world, encourage guys to come up to express their emotions, and so they just keep quiet. But I think the rates are scary, and it calls for a lot of concern.
Yeah. Do you have any special experiences for you, for people you know?
Yeah, well, I'll talk about myself.
Yes.
I was molested, yeah, by a senior in school, in JSS2. And of course, I couldn't get myself to talk to anyone about it.
Just in boarding school?
Yeah, boarding school. And then, you know, there was bullying, and there was that. And so that actually messed me up a lot. You know, it's, well, thank God for God. I do not know how that would become if I didn't deal with it on time. But it's and there are a couple of guys I've come in contact with. I've had opportunities to talk to students in schools, secondary schools, and you'll be amazed the kind of things that I get to hear from young boys.
Yeah.
You know, but again, it's easier for a lady to come out to speak, to get help. There are many platforms for ladies, for women, to get help. You know, programs, movements, and all of that. But we hardly have stuff like that for men. Yeah. Yet the negative effect it has on the family system, which is the most basic unit in society, the negative effect it has on children, is crazy.
Yeah. How long after it happened to you were you able to tell somebody?
Many years. It can't be less than 8 years, and that was because I wrote a book about it.
Okay, so you wrote a book about it, which is Beneath the Sheets, I believe?
Yes,
okay.
Beneath the Sheets.
So you basically told the world. You didn't even tell one person.
I mean, so it was crazy. So and I got a lot of messages, like, you know, from close people that knew about the project. Like, you can't talk about this. You can't expose this. You can't. But again, I thought to myself that, you know, I mean, at least one person has to talk. I'm sure a lot of people will be able to relate to it.
Yeah.
You know, and trust me, after doing the book, I've gotten a lot of messages from a lot of men. Of course, and women are like, but a lot of men, and that gives me joy.
Yeah. How did your family take it?
Well, my parents are pastors. Yeah, and then some of the things I wrote about,
they're too detailed for them.
Yeah, we're too detailed. You know, my parents are pastors. They're naturally conservative people. You know, my mom may not be very comfortable to talk about, to even mention the word sex to me. I'm married with 2 children, yeah. You know, but I had to make them understand why. This thing messed me up. I went through depression. You know, I was suicidal at some point, just because a guy is not, you know, allowed sort of to express, you know, himself and all that. So, and God helped me to, you know, deal with it. I think it's just the honorable thing to talk about it.
What about you? Do you have any personal experiences, and how have you also been able to navigate that book?
So I had my own. I was molested when I was 4, about 4, but I wouldn't remember until I was about 17 and I was in college. So the first time I actually thought about it, the first time it came to my mind, was almost like a movie. I thought it was something I'd seen somewhere on screen, and the more that, you know, the pieces started to come together, the more I realized it was me. And I sought some help professionally, and I realized that the mind, when it encounters trauma, can shut down, depending on how much trauma it encountered. So that was probably why I hadn't remembered for all those years. And I mean, there's a lot of stuff that it then answered for me, a lot of stuff that had happened in my life leading up to that point that I could then connect the dots with. How I dealt with it was, I started talking to people, just people that I could trust around me. Eventually was able to speak to my mom about it probably about 2 years ago.
Was this someone she knew?
See, here's the amazing thing about the mind. Sometimes it doesn't give you all the memories back. So I don't remember who it was. I remember everything about it.
Okay, well, you were 4, so that's really young.
I remember the room. I remember what the lights looked like. I remember what I was wearing. I don't remember the face. So, I mean, because part of it was like...
Sorry, but I'm guessing this was in your home.
It was in my house, yeah. So it most likely must have been someone we knew.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know, she doesn't know. There's no description. So, I mean, my own forgiveness story of that was a bit different because I didn't have a person to forgive. It was more so forgiving myself and maybe forgiving God for, you know, letting something like that happen to me, sorry. But how I dealt with it was talking to family, talking to friends, seeking help, and now I'm trying best as I can to sort of like create a platform for more people to talk about.
Which is what your foundation is about?
Well, yeah,
kind
more
of.
like it's more like a movement. So it's
more
made in
movement.
pink, and pink symbolizes, you know,
Vulnerability.
vulnerability being the color for typically for women, and how men can't wear pink. That's the whole idea behind it.
A lot of people never really understand how, you know, especially in these parts, when you tell them, oh, something that happened tons of years ago affects me 20, 30, 40 years later. And it never really makes sense to a lot of people in these parts.
Yeah.
How does that work for those who might not understand? I don't know. Let me start with you.
Honestly,
So what does it do to you with regards to, you know, life decisions? You know, you talk about depression as well. You know, what is it that it does?
The first thing, because what happens when you abuse someone at a time when they're young and they're vulnerable is that you have stolen something from them.
Yeah.
Because you're doing it at a time when they don't have willpower to say no. So it's more or less, you're stealing from them, basically. And what that does, it affects your self-esteem. It affects the way that you see yourself as a person, your ability to be loved, your sense of security and safety. That's why you have a lot of men who just have trust issues. Yeah. They just don't know they have trust issues. It affects so many different things. And those things manifest in life where people don't have healthy relationships, where they can't sort of hold their own in public, where they become abusive towards other people. A lot of people who abuse, you know, people sexually have been abused. So it's a cycle. So that's how it actually manifests. It really can be, it can be horrible. It can be really horrible. Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah. For me, it affects the mind. And of course, because you're young and you've not figured out yourself yet, yet you're dealing with the trauma. And so to medicate that pain, you're more likely to medicate the pain with vices. A lot of men that drink, they drink excessively, are not drunks or not drunkards, if that's correct.
Dealing with other things.
They're just trying to, run away from that. And again, the way the society is, we do not create platforms for men to actually get help. In fact, a man that tries to get help is seen as a weakling. And so that doesn't help too. So it can play out in different ways. Mine was depression. I dealt with depression a lot. I mean, I was suicidal. I was just too scared to actually make the move. But I thought about it a lot of times, and I had plans and stuff. So, I mean, it's far-reaching. It affects family, because a man that has been abused, if he doesn't heal, if he doesn't work on himself, as a tendency, So I've met many young people in secondary schools that have been abused by their parents. And of course, abuse is always around people close to you.
Yeah. He doesn't remember. You definitely know.
Of course, I remember his face.
Have you ever had a conversation? Did you confront the person? What happened?
That first time in JSS2, I mean, a long time now, I don't remember his first name, and I should be able to pick his face if I see him. But there was someone else, much later in uni, and so it was same-sex thing. Yeah, that was even more scary, and I gave him a tough time in school. I did everything because I was just angry, why would this happen to me? But I remember when I left school, I called him to just tell him I forgive you, even though he now tried to play victim. Yeah, you put me through hell. It's like, well, I called you to forgive you, so let's just let it be. But I mean, it can be pretty depressing. Yeah.
I guess that's one of the ways to sort of, like you said, forgiving yourself. Yeah. But is it easy to forgive the person? How do you move on from a place like this? For people who might be watching, not everybody, whether we like is going to reach out to a foundation or a movement or an organization. Most people are still going to try to deal with it themselves. So how do you do that?
To be honest, your ability to forgive just is, for me, largely dependent on the support system that you have. So if you get to a point where you realize that you need to move ahead with your life, and this is literally keeping you from moving ahead. Yeah. Every single time you want to get to a relationship, it's there. every single time you want to, even with business and career and believing in yourself, it's there and it's haunting you. You get to a point where you're tired of that life and you want to move ahead, and so you just need to forgive. And that's where it starts. And it's not a one and done deal. It's a journey, it's a process. I don't believe that people should be made to forgive like that. It can happen for some people, but for some people it takes a while. There's steps to it. Admitting that it happened to you in the first place, understanding what happened to you, talking to the person, talking to God, whatever it is, you know, just going through the process and eventually just being free and being liberated and knowing that you didn't do anything wrong for that to happen to you. Yeah. You know, someone who was hurt didn't know how to deal with the issue and hurt you as a way to cope. Yeah. So having that understanding comes from, first of all, having the right environment, seeing, you know, talking to people and having them explain to you that, you know, you can do better, you need to do better with your life.
You're a parent now, you said. Yeah. A lot of parents also wonder, what can I do with my child, you know? Is it something I should be saying or doing to them or doing with them or saying to them? As a parent now and as a victim, how do you handle that relationship and what should parents be looking out for?
So my approach with my experience and my approach is for me to be friends with my children. Must be paddies. You know, that's I must get them to a point where they're comfortable to talk to me about anything. Like there's no area that is too much, too discreet, you know, to talk about. From that place, when they're going wrong, because I mean, as a parent, you can see ahead, you know, so we can offer guidance, you know, and that's for me, that's like one of the greatest. Parenting is a lot of work. Yeah, a lot of work. Once there's no boundary between parents and the children, a lot can be achieved. Yeah,
and as a society, what do you think? Well, I don't know. As a people, because you find that sometimes you focus so much on the victims or the perpetrators are also, I mean, a part of us. What should we be putting in the air? I don't know, to let people understand that these things affect people.
Deepa said something. Yeah. A lot of times, the society focuses on the victims, but they forget that the victim today is a potential perpetrator tomorrow. So we should reach out to all parties involved. Yeah, equally. People should be reprimanded for their wrongs, but should try to reach out, try to, you know, counseling. I mean, there are lots of things that we can do. Create support system, as he said. He's doing a great job with Unashamed series, and all that. I do a lot of a bit of talking, public speaking here and there, especially schools. Youth gatherings and stuff, just to, you know, educate people, make people understand, and see, it will amaze you the number of people that have reached out to me, especially on social media. I actually have this issue. Some respected people, some people that are unassuming. You'd never know, but you know, these things are affecting them, is even affecting, some of them are parents, is affecting the way they are raising their own children. They're raising their own children with fear. You know, and that's not the best way.
Is sex education a possible route as well with like schools?
Definitely. Oh my goodness, definitely. But the conversations have to be honest. Yes. It can't be some theoretical
from professionals
thing that you find into some textbook. It has to be very honest. Teach people to see the possibilities and realities of life and be prepared for those possibilities and realities. Let people know that these are actual scenarios and things that you can find yourself in and how to best handle those situations. So let the conversations be honest. And speaking to that question, I think two things. We need to start having honest conversations with each other. So these days, I try my best to go out of my way to ask my friends, how are you doing? And I actually mean that question. And I look for the answer. And also, I think it's important that we start to create a safe space for people to be honest with us. So allow people go through what they're going through with you, in front of you, without having to judge them.
Thank you very much. I think that's a very good way to wrap it. Dikpo, founder Men in Peak NG, and Tolu, author of Beneath the Sheets. Thanks for being here today and being honest, having an honest conversation.
Thank you.